Now, moving on to understand who is food insecure. We till now discussed what is a need to have food security in our country. Now, moving on to understand to the ground reality where actually the people get into the situation of food insecurity. In order to understand this, there are many people in our country who suffer with poverty. Maybe because they are not accessible to them, or the prices of the commodities are not at the reachable level for them. As per the latest calculations, we have people who are suffering with malnutrition are nearly 260 million, which is 26 crore people are malnutrition in our country, and they are severely suffering with poverty. And moving on further, which sections of people are highly vulnerable to the condition of poverty or food insecurity? That is, the people those who have very little land or no land. In a village, when there is no land or very little land, you cannot do agriculture by your own because they do not have much amount as saving for them. So, they will be bound to take from some money lender some amount in order to start the agriculture work. As the season arrives, they approach to the money lender, take the money for very high rate of interest and start their work, and in turn they also work as agricultural labor in someone else's field also. So when they are doing these two works, if the output is not up to the expected level, maybe because of due to lack of rains or not having sufficient amount of water supply for the field, whatever may be, then they are bounding themselves again to reach to the money lender and pay whatever they have, and in return he charges more amount of interest and also puts certain conditions that they have to work in his own field at very less wage. So like this kind of situations are plenty in our country. This could be one of the reasons for why people are falling into the category of food insecurity. And coming to the other category of people who do not have any land. When they don't have any land, so obviously they have to work in any other one's land. When they are working in any other one's land, the condition is they will be working at the nominal wages. The government has fixed the minimum wage for an agricultural labor is 115 rupees, but still here, because of the availability of more number of people in the village and willing to work, so they don't dare to ask that even the government has fixed the wage scale, why are you not implementing that one? They simply agree to work for 50 rupees or 60 rupees as per the wish of the owner. And when they start to work, this work is also not guaranteed. It is again seasonal. Only during the harvesting season only these people will have work. So one is there are many people ready to work. Second, it is a seasonal employment. Because of these two reasons, they completely get food insecure because one, they get very less amount paid. Second, they are not getting work whole throughout the year. And moving on to the next categories of people like destitutes who don't have anyone to take care of them. The orphans, the beggars, even the aged people are left out. Nowadays the trend is that aged parents are left out by the younger generation children as destitutes, and they spend their lives in the old age homes where they are struggling hard to get the food. And the petty self-employed people also, they start a small business or small shops or something where the income is really very less for them, and that also depends on the season because everything is interlinked with agriculture. When people get good crop into their hands only, all the people will start and come and consume many products, so he gets more profits. Once the agriculture is not so profitable, that starts to impact on the business and he could not do much great work there. So that start to implement him, and he also comes into the category of food insecurity. food is insecure for many groups of people like little land or no land population, destitutes, beggars or petty self-employed people, and the very low wages are paid in many urban works like when they join as casual laborers, they are paid at very less wages. When they are paid very less wages also, they agree to work because they are migrating from villages to towns. When they migrate from villages to towns, they find it very difficult to find at least any work for them, and they have to live in the nearby bastis or stalls where the amount of rent would be very less for them, which they can afford, but the hygienic and the sanitation conditions are really horrible for them to survive. As they don't have any other alternative, they start to live there only, and later they find the work, they start like rickshaw pulling, or they'll be working in any coffee shop. Whatever the situation is, they have to work, otherwise they cannot survive. And most of the categories of people coming under the food insecurity are the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and the other backward categories. In this OBC category, we don't have all castes falling under this one. We have only very few castes in the OBC where they are having very low income group. That families only will be called in the OBC category. And moving on further, women and children. Women are the most vulnerable groups among these entire sections of population what we discussed, because women are, as usual, men and women don't get full amount of food, but women has a responsibility of carrying the family forward. So whenever she is pregnant also, the same situation continues for them, and she finds it very difficult to have 2 square meal per day, and this starts to show the impact on the child who is in the womb of the mother. So the pregnant ladies and the young children who are in the mother's womb also are malnutritioned, and the impact on them is also very high in some parts of our country. And these all are one side. And moving on to the basic factor of poverty. What is a basic factor of poverty is hunger. Hunger is the cry of the poverty. In order to stop poverty, we need to eradicate hunger from our country. If we want to eradicate hunger from our country, the government has to ensure steps that the food has to be available to all the sections of the people, irrespective of their financial and the economic backgrounds. Now moving on further to understand why we are more affected with the hunger, because the field which most of the population in India depends itself is like that, that is agriculture. In India, agriculture, we have the seasonal cropping pattern, like in the Kharif season, Rabi season and the Zayad season. The 3 seasons are present. Most of the places we have only 2 crops. The third is an extra crop. Now moving on into the details. In the crop time, they don't need much workers when they are sowing the seeds. They need more workers when they are doing harvesting only, or when they are doing the plowing. So the number of workers employed varies from the first stage to the final stage. And once the crop is cleared, again they don't find any employment for them, for the agricultural laborers. Once the crop is cleared, they have a gap of 45 to 60 days, and then again they start the plowing and sowing of the seeds in the field. So they nearly, again after the season is completed, again they have 2 months gap. This 4 months gap in the whole year makes the agricultural people to become seasonally unemployed. This seasonal unemployment starts to show a great impact on their day-to-day life of the people, because they don't get that much amount as it is sufficient for them to spend their 4 months without working. They barely get 50 to 60 rupees per day when they are called for work. Maybe for 100 days in a year they may be called for work. The rest of the 200 days to 250 days, they find it very difficult to find any work. This kind of situations are any number in our country. Because of seasonal unemployment, the seasonal hunger comes into the picture. This seasonal hunger is starting to show its impact in a very large scale. We have in our country, in many states, we find people suffering with hunger. The states like Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal, some parts of Jharkhand, some parts of Orissa, and some regions of Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, and even in Maharashtra, in some corners, we find people suffering with poverty, hungerness, and calling or falling under the category of food insecure categories. In India, substantially, the levels of the food security figures have come down now recently, as it is shown in the charts. But now India is trying to attain self-sufficiency.
If you like this video, please give a thumbs up. Please subscribe to our channel to get more videos on CBSE syllabus.